Well, I believe that we are on time, so I think we should start uh, this presentation. Uh, Good afternoon, everyone. It's a great honor for me to be at this One Sustainable Ocean event presenting the case of sustainable aquaculture. You might ask, why should we consider aquaculture as a solution for the conservation of the oceans, when we see reports alerting for the negative impacts of aquaculture in the surrounding environment? Also, the sustainability of the feeding practice in aquaculture. Is it sustainable to use more than 1 kilo of wild fish to produce 1 kilo of farmed fish? And then we have the issues of antibiotic use. So why should we consider aquaculture as a solution for the sustainability of the oceans? And the answer is on the trends of fish consumption. We have a growing population that is consuming more and more fish. In 2061, the consumption of fish per capita in the world was 9 kilos. Right now, we are close to 21 kilos and with a growing population. And it's no longer sustainable to use wild fisheries to supply fish for consumption. We have 30% of the wild stocks that are overexploited and 60% at maximum exploitation. So aquaculture needs to be the answer for us to supply fish for human consumption. Also, we see that in 2015, aquaculture already represented 50% of the global seafood consumption. And it is expected that by 2030, this will represent 62%. So we have an increased amount of aquaculture that needs to be produced. So we see that aquaculture will be the future for the global seafood supply. However, it's very important that we do it properly. And since I'm defending the cause of aquaculture, I would like to start by breaking some misconceptions about aquaculture. So regarding the sustainability of feeding practice, yes, it is true that we need more fish, or we can use more fish, more wild fish to produce 1 kilogram of farmed fish. At the moment, this use is about 0 to 3 kilos of wild fish to produce 1 kilo of farmed fish. It depends on the fish species. But for example, if I consider sea bass, and if I'm going to use 2 kilos of wild fish to produce 1 kilo of farmed sea bass, I also have to consider that when I'm consuming 1 kilo of wild fish, this wild fish has consumed 7 to 10 kilos of wild food. So this means that aquaculture is actually more sustainable than consuming fish from aquaculture is more sustainable than consuming wild fish for the protection of the oceans. Because fish, in reality, they are very efficient in converting feed ingredients into edible biomass. So we can use a variety of feed ingredients from plant origin, from animal origin, and from maritime origin, and fish are very efficient in converting this feed into edible biomass. For example, in salmon, if I feed 100 kilos of feed, I can get 65 kilos of meat. This is much more efficient when compared to other terrestrial animals, other animal proteins. So this shows how important is to farm fish important for feeding the growing population in the world. Also, we see that aquaculture is moving towards greater sustainability. There's been great developments in the aquaculture. We see now the importance of site selection and monitoring of the environmental impacts. It's a focus of the industry. The industry is moving into more exposed areas, more offshore, to minimize environmental impacts, or moving into land-based with recirculating aquaculture systems that minimize all waste impact. Also, strong developments in terms of alternative feed ingredients to minimize the utilization of marine proteins. There's research on single-cell protein, insect meals. So the industry is trying to find solutions to be able to feed the fish in a sustainable way. Also, developments on vaccines, on functional feed ingredients that will boost the health status of the animal, reducing and preventing the use of antibiotics. Also, a lot of focus on technology to improve the efficiency of the production, so we can minimize the impacts. So, and this is why we, the Jerónimo Martins Group, started to invest in the aquaculture industry. For those that do not know the Jerónimo Martins Group, I can tell you that it's a group that it's an international group based in Portugal with 230 years experience in the retail business and food business. We are located in 3 different countries, Portugal, Poland, and Colombia. So we have presence in 3 countries and 2 continents. We have 4 banners. We have more than 4,000 stores in these different locations. And in Portugal, Pingo Doce is a market leader in the supermarket segment. It's present in around 300 cities, villages in Portugal, and is known for its expertise in fresh products, private brands, and meal solutions. Recently, the group has developed a new business area, the agribusiness, and this was in a strategy of vertical integration to supply, to guarantee the supply of relevant products for the group stores. The group is, the agribusiness is now present in 4 different areas: dairy, livestock, aquaculture, and fruits and vegetables. In the aquaculture, our main goal is to secure the sustainable supply of fish products through aquaculture, to produced in high quality and sustainability. Also, to stimulate innovation and cooperation in order to develop new products that go according to the preference of consumers. Also very important to promote cooperation and integration with existing operators to identify consumption, production, and technology trends. Why are we focused in aquaculture? Well, basically because of the big appetite of Portugal for fish. Portugal is the biggest consumer of fish in the European Union. We are the 3rd biggest consumer of fish in the world. Each Portuguese consumes around 56 kilos of fish per year. Also, we see a trend of an increase in consumption of farmed fish, and unfortunately 95% of this farmed fish is imported to Portugal. So, and also looking at major trends, we see that salmon, sea bass, and sea bream are the major species consumed in Portugal. Salmon is sourced from Norway with a long distribution channel. Sea bass and sea bream from Greece and Turkey, which also these long supply chains. So our initial goal was to focus on locally produced fish. So we developed 2 projects. One project in the west coast, southwest coast of Portugal in Sines for the production of sea bass, and another project for the production of sea bream in the Madeira Island. Regarding the project in Sines, this was a takeover from an existing production project that we modernized. The calm and protected areas in the port of Sines guarantee the possibility to do cage farming, which is our model of production because it's the most efficient way of producing fish, and we have the fish in their natural environment. Also, this allows us the proximity to the market. in less than 24 hours we can have the fish harvest and put in our stores. It's a small project with a potential of no more than 500 tons per year, and it has not the optimal conditions. We have low temperature waters, which means that we have a production cycle that is double what is the normal in the Mediterranean Sea. However, these cold water temperatures makes us to have a high quality product in terms of meat quality. Then we have also, we consider this project as our center for training and R&D. It's where we do testing of technology. So for example, we introduce technology like automatic feeders and underwater cameras that allows us to monitor the feeding and be more efficient and reduce the impacts. Also, all the tests that we are doing here, we then apply to the other projects where we developed our work. In Madeira, we have a project for the production of sea bream. It's a partnership with a local partner. Madeira has excellent conditions for aquaculture and for production of sea bass and sea bream. It has optimal temperature profile with ranging from 18 to 24 degrees. It has deep water, so we have our cages in depths of 35 to 55 meters and constant currents. This is very important regarding the flux of the nutrients and the reduction of the environmental impacts. We can produce the sea bass and in this case sea bream in cycles of 12 to 13 months to reach 350 grams. Our capability at the moment is around 900 tons, and we want to increment this to reach 2,000 tons. Also, and with our vertical integration model and in close collaboration with our partners Pingo Doce, we can do product differentiation. So we establish an exclusive brand for our group stores, which is the sea bass of Costa Alentejana and the sea bream of Costa da Madeira. These are locally produced products in a sustainable way that have an unbeatable freshness, and we can deliver this to the customer, and they can recognize this quality. Also important is the engaging with the clients, bringing the product and production closer to the customer. So we give information about the origin and production methods of the product that the consumer is eating, is informed on the production methods, and also promoting Mediterranean diet and the consumption of farmed fish opposed to wild fish for the conservation of the oceans. We have now developing 2 new projects. One project in Morocco, Mediterranean Aqua Farm. So this is a new geography for the group, and also implementing a new project in the Algarve region so that we can upscale the production of locally produced fish. In both of these locations, our focus is also on short chain supply chains, meaning Morocco, it's in the Mediterranean area, so it's very close to the markets. In Morocco is again a partnership with a local partner. This is a greenfield project to scale up our production, so there is no other aquacultures around. So this is important in terms of the sustainability of the area because there is low impact. It's an area with very good temperature profile and also with strong currents. Once again, we select our sites regarding the dynamics of the site so that we do not have accumulation of detritus in the bottoms of the cages, and all the waste can be spread with minimal impact. This initial phase, we want to produce 1,000 tons of sea bass and sea bream. Again, as I mentioned, proximity to the market is key, and it is possible to deliver in Portugal in 24 hours after harvest. We start the first stocking of this project already in 2021. Another important project for us is the Algarve project. It's a project that we initiated this year. It's a new project to escape our production of locally produced fish. It's located 10 kilometers outside the coast of the Algarve in the south of Portugal. It's a project for the production of 1,500 tons of sea bass and sea bream. We want to test new species such as migre. And as I mentioned, we just started this project this year. We are now constructing the cages, and we want to initiate the first production in August this year. This is a very special for us because it's a new, unique unique project focused on sustainability. We intend to implement extensive environmental monitoring of the site. We will start analyzing the biodiversity and collecting, evaluate the status of the site before we start to do the production so that we can monitor the impacts of our production in the environment. Also, a big focus on the utilization of technology to overcome constraints, and very important also for us is the implementation of this multi-trophic aquaculture concept. So we want to implement an IMTA project with the production also of seaweeds and bivalves. So we have what is a waste for one trophic level is the food for another trophic level. This to increase the sustainability of this project. So, as I mentioned, in our group, we have a big focus on sustainability. We're monitoring all environmental impacts of all our projects. We have done that for the project in Sines, for the project in Madeira. For the project in Sines, we had a project of 3-year monitoring of environmental impacts, and a recent paper published by that project identified that there was no impact in the quality of the water in the surrounding environment of our project. We also focus in shorter supply chains. This is to reduce the carbon footprint of our production to the delivery to the markets. Greater quality control and food safety always guarantee the freshness of the product. Very important in reducing waste. We have strong KPIs regarding what is our utilization of water, of energy, of residues, and we monitor and every year, every month to try to reduce according to the group standards. Also try to make use of the circular economy, and very important also working together with our suppliers regarding sourcing responsibility of all the feed ingredients. Also, very important for us is our commitment in terms of R&D in research. So we have established several collaborations with universities and research centers. Here are some of the projects that we were involved with. The Pishimot project, this was together with Instituto Superior Técnico and the University of Lisbon, where we were doing environment monitoring using satellite data. This was the project where we were monitoring the impacts of the project in Sines. Also hydroacoustics. This was a project in partnership with the University of Seville, where we were looking at a new tool to determine fish biomass without being invasive to the fish. So we want to focus also on the animal welfare, and instead of sampling the fish, we use these invasive, non-invasive methods so that we can calculate what is the biomass and the growth of the fish. Also, a collaboration with a startup company, Biomimetics. They are developing a very interesting product. This is an anti-fouling product that is organic, so we don't have chemicals, it's of biological origin, and this contributing to the sustainability of our operations whenever we want to use anti-fouling in the nets. In the Madeira project, we are now also looking at subsea cage technology so that we eliminate the visual impact of sea bream production in Madeira. Also, together with partners of Norway and Portugal, we developed a project focusing on salmon. trying to evaluate the possibility of producing salmon in Portugal. Uh, because salmon is very important because it's one of the most consumed fish in Portugal. And related to that, we just finalized an investment in a new project in Norway. It's an Andefjord salmon project. They are developing very interesting technology. It's a land-based technology, or land-based project based on innovative flow-through system with low energy use, where we can recreate salmon natural habitat on land with a laminar flux. We will reduce the impact of sea lice because the water is coming from the deep, so no sea lice, no need for sea lice treatments. Also, most of the waste is settled in the bottom of the cage, so and is going to be collected and then can be reused for energy or for fertilizer. So the goal of this project is to establish the world's most fish-friendly and sustainable fish farming facility of its kind. So as you can see, this is a big tank where the water comes from the deep, passes by laminar flow, all the waste is settled, and then the water, when it moves, when it goes out, it's clean. There's no risk of salmon escapes, so we have here a very interesting and sustainable project. So, in conclusion, we can say that aquaculture can be a sustainable way to secure the supply of seafood for a growing population. Fish farming can and should be done in a sustainable and responsible way. It is very important to monitor and to mitigate all the possible impacts of fish farming in the surrounding environment. We can use technology to improve this efficiency. GMA follows the commitment regarding the sustainability and farm-to-fork strategy, and we stimulate innovation in production development to guarantee the sustainability of our projects and our products. Thank you very much. I open now the floor for questions.
Hi. You have compared the efficiency regarding seafood or aquaculture and terrestrial animals. Have you compared between vegetable proteins and animal proteins? So not just terrestrial animals and fish, but also like beans and vegetable proteins.
In this case, we are comparing fish to animals. So the production of animal protein, considering that fish is an animal. Regarding plant proteins, also what we have to consider is that 70% of our ocean, of our planet, is seawater, and we cannot only rely on plant protein sources to feed the world. We need to, in order to be sustainable and to feed all the population, we need to make use of the sea. And instead of harvesting the sea, we should farm the sea. We should farm the sea not only regarding fish, regarding shellfish, regarding seaweeds. We see the opportunity of using the wide space of the ocean to farm. And by farming, we are also protecting the wild stocks, because we will not rely on wild stocks to feed the population. So I think it is important. Yes, there is plants, but we should also take the opportunity of farm the oceans in order to feed a growing population.
Thank you.
Hello. Thank you for your presentation, Pedro, and for the work you're doing. I was wondering about the sea bass and sea bream that you are going to produce in Morocco.
Yeah.
What is your strategy on selling? Are you selling it the same way that you are selling our local Madeira and Sines,
No.
or you are competing in a way with Greece and Turkey? It's just curiosity.
We will be competing with Greece and Turkey,
Yes.
but with an advantage, which
Mhm.
is the short chain logistics.
Yep.
So we want to reduce the carbon footprint and the freshness of the product. So a product that comes from Turkey or from Greece will have a much higher carbon footprint in terms of the transportation. It will
Lower
take
freshness.
longer, so lower freshness. Our focus is regarding sustainability and quality of the product. So producing in Morocco, and this is the north of Morocco, we can easily put this product in Spain, in Portugal, in France, with short supply chains.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations for the presentation, very insightful.
Thank you.
Can you expand a bit more about the salmon project in Portugal? Because this is a kind of a shift to Norway and to inland, and can you expand a bit more about this salmon strategy and also about this going inland? Okay, so do you think that going inland, like Aquinov and or Atlantic now, do you think it's a viable way for expanding aquaculture here in Portugal?
Going inland has an issue, which is space occupation, occupation of space. Our coastline is very already densely populated and occupied. So going inland, there are some areas that we can go and do the production on land. This has to be intensive systems, like for example, flat Atlantic, right? And there is a possibility because these systems, when we go inland, they are very efficient in terms of controlling the production. Our strategy in Portugal regarding the salmon was an R&D project to test the possibility of or how would salmon adapt to the Portuguese conditions. We know that we have lower temperatures in the North Atlantic coast, temperatures of 13 to 18 degrees, with an average temperature of about 14, 15 degrees if you go deep. So our strategy was to try to test the biology of the fish. For that we needed technology to do this test. What we observed is that with the test that we did, that the technology was still not ready. So we had a small cage that we put 20 kilometers outside the coast of Aveiro. And what we faced was difficulties in terms of not only the technology, but also all the logistics to implement this project. Because it was not easy to bring cage and all these things to the sea. We learned a lot. We are still continuing this project, but what we are doing is there are some developments in Norway regarding the technology, where they can test the technology in better conditions than us doing it in Portugal. And once this technology is tested and we are happy or with what they show us in terms of the technology and how it can survive in harsh conditions in the ocean, then we can continue this project in Portugal. The investment on land and in Norway, it's related to one thing. This is a very innovative project. Also, we know that in terms of know-how, Norway, in terms of aquaculture, is much advanced in terms of know-how. So if you want to test things, Norway is the right place to be, because this is still in a development phase. So it's better to do where you have all the conditions to do these developments And then later on, you can transfer the technology, if possible, to other locations. But at the moment, now, Norway looked for us as the right way to invest in this project. And we invested in this project, in particularly because of its sustainability track record. It's a unique project that when people talk about salmon production and all the problems of sea lice and SKPs and environmental impacts, this project ticks all these points, reducing the impacts. And for us, this is also very important.
Hello, thank you for your presentation. I'd like to maybe do two questions. First, what would you say are, or maybe what would you say is the major difficulty in terms of sustainability when doing this kind of production? And second of all, maybe ask you to comment a little bit more when you say that this is going to replace seafood that's being fished. Given that seafood harvested by fishermen has at this moment the biggest economic value in terms of fish that is put in our table, and it also has a lot of social and cultural value. So when you say that it's going to replace, what can you maybe expand a little bit more on that?
What I meant in terms of the replacement is we have a growing population. We know that we can no longer sustain the growth of fish consumption, for example, to feed this growing population. Fisheries can no longer guarantee the supply. So in order to guarantee the constant supply of seafood so that people can eat fish, we have to look at farmed fish. Farmed fish has another thing that is important, which is the consistency of supply. Today, and you know, here in Portugal, everybody eats salmon, sea bass, and sea bream. This is always available in the market. So people, when they go to the market, they already know, I know that I have sea bass, I have sea bream, I have salmon. Sometimes they will eat sardines in season, they will eat mackerel, they will eat pescada, hake. But this will bring trends, which is this is available. You'll see that also with turbot. You'll see also that with sole. So once it is available in the market, people will buy it. In Portugal, we are very specific because we eat a lot of species. So we have this gluttony for seafood, and we eat many species. If you go to other markets, people have a more reduced, they consume a lesser number of species. And this should be the trend. If you are eating these species that have a constant supply, you know that you don't need to choose wild fisheries. Of course, that there is always the economic issue of high value species. The fishermen will always go and fish because they can make a good profit out of it. But here is that people will look at aquaculture or the farmed fish as the regular supply and slowly limit consumption of other species. Regarding the first question, which is the main limitations. Well, main limitations is one is on feed ingredients. So we need to feed the fish, and we actually are doing a good job regarding this issue because, for example, if you look at the use of wild fisheries for aquaculture use, the amount of fisheries has remained stable. So the amount of fish that is used for fish meal and then it's used for aquaculture or other animal feeds is constant. But we are able to increase the production of fish. So that means that we are finding alternative resources to increase the production of fish without going to the marine protein sources. Another issue is related to diseases. We know that when we have high densities, this is more prone to diseases. But there is also a lot of work being done regarding vaccination of fish, regarding knowing the immune system of the fish, using feed ingredients that can boost the immune system of the fish. Also, when we're looking at site selection, to have areas that have more hydrodynamism, so that you have a current flow of water, this also minimize these risks. Also, work on genetics to improve the efficiency of production, that fish are more resistant to diseases and they grow well. So there are many areas in the aquaculture industry that have been researched and developed, and we see that the industry is becoming more and more efficient, and solving each problem is being solved one at a time.
Hello, thank you for your presentation. I have a question in regard of the seaweeds.
Yep.
So, in regard of your intent for the seaweeds, are you planning to upscale production, and how many tons and what uses do you have for them?
What we want to do in this project with the IMTA and the seaweeds, first of all, is to create an ecosystem, a multi-trophic ecosystem where we have, as I mentioned, waste of one production can be utilized by others. So we're looking more into bioremediation, the role of seaweeds as bioremediation. Of course, that then we also look at, and this is the target of this project is, first we are going to select which seaweed better adapts to our production conditions, and then we'll see what can be the application of these seaweeds. If it can be, for example, a laminaria for a bioremediation, and what we have there is bioremediation, or if we have other seaweeds that can be utilized in other applications, that can be for animal feed. Initially, our project was to produce a seaweed that then we can feed to livestock, in this case cows, so that to reduce the methane emissions of cows. So this is also something that we are looking into it, to see if this seaweed can be grown in this project, or other seaweeds that have more efficiency in growing in this project, and then can have other applications, pharmaceutical, cosmetical. So at the moment, what we'll do in partnership with seaweed experts, in this case Alga Plus, and we have a big project with several partners, is to identify which is the best seaweed that can be produced there, and then see the best application for it.
Thank you.
Hello, thank you for the opportunity. I live in Madeira, and I have a project there, Oceano Madeira, that's trying to raise awareness about aquaculture. And I face some challenge about convincing the population that it's a good activity. And I would like to ask you, how to face the challenge? What is the best strategy to convince people that aquaculture can be beneficial to them and to Madeira Island, for example?
Education. Because the problem of Madeira is there is a misconception about aquaculture.
Exactly.
There was a lot of information that was wrong information, saying that the fish from aquaculture are not healthy and it's bad for the health of people, that aquaculture creates an environmental impact, a negative impact. But the issue in Madeira is one thing, it's tourism. And it's the competition of aquaculture and tourism. We know that these two industries can go along together. We have Greece has a lot, and Turkey, they have a lot of aquaculture. In the Canary Islands, they have an important aquaculture industry. If you go to the Côte d'Azur, they also have aquaculture in important touristic areas. So here is, we have to make a small number of the Madeira population, because it's not a big, it's also a political issue in Madeira. So we have to show to them that this is an industry that can be important for Madeira Island. And we saw that during pandemic. You know, in the lockdown, there was no tourism industry in Madeira, but we were still producing and exporting the fish to the mainland. So there was an economic activity still thriving during these difficult times for the tourism industry. So it's education. If people see and they go to, for example, to our cages, and we have people diving there, and they look and they can see that there is no impact. We are doing monitoring impact of the seabed, and we see no impact. We do regular water analysis. There is no impact. And when people see all the fish, the biodiversity that we have around the cages, it's like an artificial reef. We have you know, the sea lions coming to our cages. So they show that it's a sustainable industry that can be implemented in Madeira.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Well, if there is no more questions, I think our time is also over. I would like to thank you for your presence here, and I hope that you get a different idea on aquaculture, and that is important in doing sustainable aquaculture is going to be important for the sustainability of the oceans. Thank you very much.